Yeah, I appreciate that too, Kara. I had a heart attack about 2 years ago, and everything that's on that list I abide by. All those years of all that good food and everything else blocked up my veins, and so yeah, I stay active for my life, and so yeah, if you don't, kiss life goodbye. Yeah. So my name Larry. My last name Cesspooch means white belly and Ute. My great great grandpa had a big white birthmark on his tummy, and that was his Ute name. And uh, none of the other family members that I know of have that white birthmark. Just he. And so that's where the name comes from. As I said before, I was going to share a little information about sweetgrass and cedar. Uh, all religions, all cultures have sacred smoke of some kind. And for us is a sweetgrass. We have some here in the Uinta Mountains, but because we have such a short growing season, we might grow half this size. But a lot of this comes from Montana and up into Canada, where they've got big fields of this sweetgrass. And it's just like the name implies, it's sweet. And so when there's no right way or wrong way when you pray, it's just your intent. So whatever you choose to do, or however, the higher power, the sweetgrass will make contact with all of that, because they're all one and the same for all of us. But this smoke, this sacred smoke, penetrates dimensions that you hear about. There's a veil between us, the living, and the dead. Well, this sweetgrass and other ceremonial sacred smoke penetrates those dimensions. So if you're talking to, say, a relative in that spirit world, this will make contact with that relative. I always say I use this for the living, because it can change negative to positive. So someone's sick, it will help them. You just smudge them. It's the smoke enters their body and goes to every cell in their body to help them to start getting better. Or if they're struggling with their mind, helps them to start thinking different, because you let in the Creator through this sacred smoke, miracles happen. And so I use the sweetgrass for the living. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and when I was in Vietnam, I realized if I'm going to make it through this, I'm going to have to go back to prayer that our people had. Before then, I was a typical teenager, and I was in a rock band. I was all cool and all that sort of thing. So all the traditional things went on the back burner. But when I was in Vietnam, I realized if I'm going to make it through this, I was a radioman with an air squadron, and we flew every day out to the carriers. And sometimes I wasn't sure we were going to be able to land, but we made it, and I'm still here. But I would smell this sacred smoke, either this sweet grass or this cedar, as I got off our plane, and I'd smell it in the hangar deck as well. But we use this cedar for purifying, and I use it usually for if you're trying to clear space, say from someone who has passed. This helps wipe away all those tracks and helps them to move on as well. So our people use this quite a bit around funerals and helping their relative to pass into that spirit world. And all of these things, when we go to harvest them, we always lay sweetgrass or lay some tobacco, because tobacco is spirit food. And so we always make an offering for all of these things before we take them. Like the cedar, we go out where there's no traffic and all of that kind of pollution that would have got on it. Well, onto storytelling. Our people, as I said, we would tell those stories during the winter months. Back in teepee days, you didn't have the big screen to come home to. So you would ask a storyteller to come. And usually that meant you were going to feed him and whatever else. And we had dried meat, venison or elk or whatever. And we'd pass that around just like the popcorn we do today. And you'd listen to the storyteller. And once somebody started to get a little tired and start to yawn, storyteller would see him and say, "That's it, that's it for tonight." And everybody be bummed, or everybody was so tired that they'd go to sleep. And that was how storytelling was. So today I'm going to share a couple stories with you. Give me a second to I don't know if you guys can see me because I'm still up in this little square. So hopefully you'll see everything. When you use these backgrounds, sometimes you'll lose things. So this story is about Coyote, and Coyote is always never satisfied. Coyote is the trickster, and he's always the one who has to go through the lessons, the hard times to teach us a lesson. And so one morning, Coyote was walking along, and he's just do 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 do, and he noticed the birds, which each were up in the trees, and they were throwing something. And he watched, and they would do it again, and they would put up their heads, and they would laugh and laugh, and he was really curious, what were they doing? And so he goes and talks to them. "What's up?" "What's up?" And he says, "Oh, we don't want you to play with us, Coyote. You're just trouble. You always cause trouble." And he said, "No, no, no, I want to know what you're doing." So all of a sudden they were showing him what they were doing was taking out their eyes, and they would throw it up in the air, and they'd run underneath, and they'd catch their eyes in their sockets. And he said, "Oh, I want to do that. I want to do that." And they said, "No, Coyote, you'll just blow it." "No, no, 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 I'll do it good. I'll do it good." I says, "Okay, Coyote, you reach inside, dig out your eyeballs." So he reaches inside. He says, "Oh, I can't get him. I can't get him." So he said, "Here, push real hard." boom, and out they came. And so he says, okay, I'm going to throw them high in the air. And he throws them just a little. And they said, no, Coyote, higher, higher. So he throws them a little higher. And they said, oh, that's not going to work, Coyote. You got to throw them high. And so he throws them high. And when he did, they flew by and they grabbed him and they flew off and they were laughing at him. Coyote, we got you, we got you. And oh, he was blind now. He couldn't see. And so he was feeling around everywhere and he ended up crawling. And he comes across a little one. And she says, what's up, Coyote? And it was Little Mouse Sister. And she says, oh, I see you don't have your eyes, Coyote. And he said, yeah, those birds, they trick me, they trick me. And she looks at him and she has this big heart and she says, I'll give you my eyes, Coyote. And so Coyote says, are you sure? And she says, yes, I know I'll be blessed and things will work out. So Coyote gets her eyes and he puts them in. And they're just little beady things. And everything is from the mouse's perspective. And he's looking all over and he said, oh man, this isn't gonna work. And so he's walking around like a mouse would, going back and forth. And to make the story shorter, he comes across the buffalo, Douch. And he says, hey, buffalo. And a buffalo looks down at him. And he says, buffalo, those birds, they tricked me and they took my eyes. And buffalo looks at him. And buffalo too has a big heart. And he says, okay, Coyote, I'll give you my eyes. So he takes out those big buffalo eyes and he gives them to Coyote and he puts them in. Now he can see big. Everything is big, like the buffalo's eyes. And he says, oh no, this isn't gonna do. This isn't gonna do. And he starts crying and the birds are way off and they're watching everything that's going on. And they take pity on him and they fly over and they say, here, Coyote, take your old eyes. And they dropped him and he found them and he stuck them in. And the moral of the story is, be satisfied with what you have and who you are, and you'll go for. My next little story is about the bear. The bear had a long tail at one time, and this story is about that. Give me a second for wardrobe change. I've got to change my background. Cool. Well, this story is about COYOTE. and his long tail that he adored. And it was in the wintertime, and so COYOTE had his long tail and he was out on the ice pond and he was skating away and he has his mirror. He kept looking at his tail. Oh, beautiful tail, beautiful tail. And oh, he was happy with his tail and he kept giving it kisses. Oh, yes. And all of a sudden he seen the fox and he stopped. And he seen the fox had this big pile of fish by the side of his fishing hole. And of course, bears love fish. And he goes, "Hey, fox, how'd you get all that fish?" And the fox said, "Well, see my tail? I stick my tail in the water. And when they come bite it, I just pull it out and I got this whole pile of fish. And I don't know as I can eat all of them, but I'll make a good try at it." And bear says, COYOTE says, "I want a fish like that too." So the fox says, "Oh," and the fox is always sly and he's thinking. And he says, "Okay, COYOTE, follow me." And they walk around to the other side of the pond, which is all swampland. And he says, "Okay, COYOTE, now with your long tail, you stick it in this hole and you wait until I tell you." And so bear took his position. Guess I better change my angle a little. So he took his position on the stump and he had his tail in the water. Here's his tail. Had his tail in the water, and all of a sudden it started to snow. And the fox was watching all the time from his den and watched the snow. And he looks outside at 2:30 in the morning and he sees a little hump of snow where COYOTE was, or bear was. So he says, "Now!" And so bear jumps up, and when he did, he leaves his tail, his long tail, and all that beauty and pride he had in his tail no longer exists. His tail got clipped, and that's all he has. And the moral to this story is don't be greedy. Be satisfied with what you get. And so this holiday season, don't be greedy. Be a good Santa. And happy holidays from myself. And you can check out my homepage. It's through nativeeyes.net, through nativeeyesproductions.net, and see some of the other fun things I do. All right. Our word for thank you is takoyak. Thank you for this time. Thank Val for having me, inviting me to do this.
Thank you.